Hello, Seiiti Arata. If you are suffering because you think that your life is hard, remember that at least life is short. And the older you get, life seems to go by faster. Even if you're young and you believe that you still have your whole life ahead of you, you also have to remember that you can die at any moment from an accident or a new virus that appeared on the other side of the world. Being clear about this dimension of time, this is essential. We keep complaining about not having time for anything, but we also waste our time on low-value activities, and this creates very curious situations. On the one side, when we have a lot of available time to perform a task, we end up procrastinating, leaving it for later. And when we have a task that needs to be done in a short period of time, or else there will be a serious consequence, we start moving and we do what needs to be done. The problem with this idea is that we have a lot of time, and this is an illusion. We want to use our time well to reach the day of our death with few regrets. When you think about death, you remember that there is a limited amount of time to be able to do what you want to do. You will die. It could be 50 minutes from now or 50 years from now. And the people you love will also die sooner or later. Having this awareness that we can cease to exist at any time can help us to make better life choices about what we think, what we say, what we do. Likewise, gaining awareness that the people we love are going to die one day ends up helping us to have a better relationship with them. Logically, you will miss them when they die, but the simple fact that today you remember the possibility of death will help you to be less shocked when that happens. Excessive attachment to certain people can make it difficult for you to cope with the loss. When you are aware of the possibility of death, you approach the truth. And it helps you to let go of the idea of wanting permanence. To wish that everything always remains the same is a losing battle. Our reality is marked by impermanence. I'm not going to be saying that you will deal coldly with the death of a loved one, that you will not mourn. I'm saying that you can be better prepared for the inevitable. And even the person on the deathbed will have greater peace of mind when they realize that you are prepared. What would you do if you only had today left? If you were sure you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do today? Would you choose to spend your last hours of existence having fun, doing what you never had the courage to do? Or would you seek to live with virtue? Or would you do everything the same? Have your breakfast, go to work, come home, take a shower, and normally enjoy a dinner with your family? If you die tomorrow, will you be at ease knowing that everything is in order in your life? For many people, to live with character is to live every day as if it would be the last day. One thing is certain, you would hardly waste the last hours of your life browsing aimlessly on social media, watching television, or practicing any other low-value activity. But is death something that should make us afraid, sad? Or is it because of the wrong ideas we have about death? We are not troubled by the things, we are troubled by the idea that we have of things. Death itself is not scary. What is scary is the kind of opinion that we have about death. And when we realize that death is part of life, we get a new outlook on life while it lasts, and we also have greater gratitude. And gratitude is also knowing how to use the life we have well instead of wasting it. Remember that you will die someday. Realize how amazing it is that you are alive now. Don't take life for granted. Don't think that you are immortal. Forgetting your mortality is a classic problem that has been studied since ancient Rome. This is why the idea of memento mori comes up, of remembering death, that death will come to all of us at a certain point. When you remember that you're going to die one day, you realize that it makes no sense to waste precious moments of your life complaining, fighting over nonsense, gossiping about the lives of others, looking at pictures of other people on social networks. When you realize that you're mortal, you can make better choices with the limited time that you have. We're not saying here that death is negative. Death is just a fact, just like the sun, water, cold, heat. It's part of life. You don't have to be afraid of death. As long as you are alive, and you are alive now, death does not exist to you. And when your death comes, you will no longer exist. So you don't have to worry about death or obsess about death. Just be aware that you will die someday. And every moment that you remember that this is a passing life and you are mortal, you are freed from the illusion of immortality. And you're better able to make good choices with more awareness. You gain more clarity about the value of life. A poor lived life is one of the worst kinds of death. The uncertainty about when we're going to die is one of life's greatest challenges. On the one hand, we have to plan our lives and set goals considering that we have a future to be lived. But on the other hand, we also have to take advantage of the present because there is the possibility of dying at any moment. We need to eat so we're healthy for a long time. We also want to take advantage of certain moments in life to get pleasure from the type of food that we want. We need to save for the future. At the same time, we need to use the money to satisfy our desires of the present. We need to seize the moment while we also need to work to pay the future bills. In short, we need to live life well now and to the end. You should not regret that life has an end. It is precisely the end of life that increases the value of life. It is better to get a natural flower than an artificial flower. The natural flower has an end. The beauty of life is that it ends. And this adds to the challenge of making the best use of our lives. We must not live life in fear of death. Why should we be afraid of what is inevitable? Rationally, it makes no sense to be afraid of what will happen, regardless of my choice. But it seems that our society does not accept death and aging. We want more and more to prolong the youth, and so we forget that we are aging and dying. Old age is not a defect to be escaped from. It is a normal phase of life, of our existence. It is not sad to grow old. The sad thing is you want to hide your age. The sad thing is the only way to not grow old, which is to die young. When we talk about death, the person who leaves is less important. What matters more is the people who stay. We don't talk about death. We talk about passing away. We talk about the person who is gone. Death is a taboo. The mere fact that I mentioned the word death here several times, and I put the word die in the title of the description of this video, puts me at risk of YouTube punishing me, as it did once in the past. If you look at our channel's history, you will find a video about memento mori, to remember that one day we will die. That is arata.se/hello25. And the YouTube algorithm back in the day sent me a notification that I was talking about something unpleasant. Death is a taboo, and that harms us because we end up having more difficulty to mature, to have more clarity. We need to see fear in a positive way. Fear shows us where it is important to pay attention. And the problem is when that fear turns into phobia. Physical death is the end of our projects. And what is behind the fear of death is often the poor accomplishment of our projects. A person who is well with himself knows that he's not wasting his time and generally is not afraid of death. What we need to be afraid of is living badly. Whenever I'm in a funeral, I tend to experience death from other people's perspectives. And I think about the suffering that is being caused by the absence of that person. I think about the inconvenience caused by unfinished projects or assumed obligations. When you learn to deal with death while you are still alive, you become more alive. And this reflection is useful when you find yourself being too severe, too strict with your own failures. Why were you not successful? Why are you not rich? Remember that in a few days or years, you will die, and any success you achieve is temporary. You can do an exercise and remember all the deceased individuals that you admire. It can be all the great heroes, scientists, celebrities, actors, or people that you admire because of their intelligence or beauty or inventiveness, wealth, whatever. Take a look and you'll see that they are dead, they're buried. This exercise increases your awareness of death, and it shows that it does not make sense to be overly celebrating your achievements or even punishing yourself for your failures. You cannot take your achievements or defeats too seriously. When you are no longer alive, it will not make a big difference. This exercise is not meant to be morbid or to put you down, but when you reflect on death and decomposition and impermanence, you can free yourself from the attachment to the body, from the attachment to the ego. When you look at death head-on, fear fades. There are even people who contemplate dead bodies on different stages of putrefaction and apply this perception to their own body, which is the same nature and will also go through the same inevitable process. And this kind of attitude is obviously going to cause astonishment and horror, even hatred in some people. Imagine that I suggest that you now search the internet for photos and videos of decomposing corpses, and be staring at them, you might think that this is crazy practice. And this has to do with a phenomenon in modern society that basically is banishing death. Death is more hidden than ever. Before, death was an event. You would see funerals. Many years ago, you would even see executions. Deaths would be announced. The newspaper had the mortuary. Some cars with loudspeakers would announce the deaths of people. This still happens in small rural communities. But all of this is increasingly rare nowadays. Perhaps there are even people here over the age of 30 who have never seen a dead person, have never been to a funeral. Today our society makes an effort to hide death from our eyes. The slaughter of animals is done very far away. If you want to buy a chicken breast, you go to the supermarket, you get that plastic package with the clean fillet. Everything's sterilized. People's death is no longer happening at home with their families. It is in the hospital, all those white lights and blue blankets and plastic curtains. Instead of accepting death as a natural process, we think that medicine is failing to save people. It seems that everything needs to have a cure, or if the cure does not exist yet, it is soon to be invented. The positive thought that everything is going to end up well also gives us hope that make it difficult for us to see reality. The cult of the body, of life, of youth, it can harm us. When we become attached to the use of aesthetic treatments to disguise old age, the image retouching to hide the truth, we're overly celebrating eternal youth and social media photos, and when old age inevitably arrives, the elderly are forgotten, abandoned, left out. The elderly person withdraws. Have you noticed that? Maybe they're ashamed to exist for being old, for the fear of being inconvenient, ugly, disgusting, not being able to listen anymore, not understanding anything anymore, not being able to do anything anymore. So it is not surprising that memento mori does not have a place in our society. But it doesn't have to be that way. You cannot get rid of the unpredictability of death. You can accept your aging process. And at the same time, you can enjoy life right now without neglecting the future. You need to accept that any moment you're going to die. Death is inevitable. And the only thing you don't want is to reach your final moments thinking about everything that could have been, but wasn't. So don't waste any more time. Put your big dreams on paper. Set your goals. Act today to live life the way you've always wanted to. Be the person you're meant to be. And for those of you who need a step-by-step guided guidance on how to do this, I invite you to take a look at planning your life. This is a course, and you can watch a special class right now, how to identify your personal values, by visiting the link arata.se/planning your life.